Hey everybody, Motorport 59 here, going to rail a little bit. I don't know if I'm going to talk a little bit about the CARES Act and how it applies to me and what I'm trying to get it to apply to me to right now and the difficulty I'm having getting any kind of help at all. And for those of you who don't know what the CARES Act, it is the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act of 2020. And it had a ton of pork in it. I remember when it was going through Congress, I was opposed to it. It may end up helping me. It may end up not helping me. But for it to help me, I'm going to have to get a few things figured out. And what the provision that applies specifically to me states that hospitals who received funding from the CARES Act, which the hospital I stayed in did receive funding from them, the hospital itself, the healthcare group, Dignity Health, and Common Spirit Healthcare. They all received billions of dollars. Well, Common Spirit and Dignity Health received billions of dollars. I don't recall exactly how much the hospital that I was staying in received, but it received a big chunk of it. But anyway, any hospital that received funds from the CARES Act is supposed to be barred from charging patients who are hospitalized with coronavirus 19, like I was. They're supposed to be banned from charging those patients any more than their insurance has already paid. And my insurance paid a huge part of mine. I was part of the waiver. They had waivers that insurance companies were doing at the time that eliminated copays. And United Healthcare, I get nothing but thumbs up. They went above and beyond. My insurance capped out while I was in there, but they still paid almost twice what the cap was. And so I have no issues with United Healthcare. But I was under the impression that the hospital had written this off because I didn't hear from them for like a year. I bandied back and forth with them, and when I finally spoke with a human being in July of 2021, I finally spoke with a human being, and she had no idea what this was about. This is a $25,000 bill, and when I told her, well, I was in the hospital for COVID, and she said, oh, well, it doesn't say that in the notes. She goes, I'll resubmit this, and you probably won't hear from us again. And I didn't hear from them again until the middle of January. I got a call from a collection agency who said, hey, you still owe all this money, and I wasn't sure what was going on, so I didn't give those collections people any information, but I got hold of the hospital, and they said, yeah, you still owe this. And I got to talking with the gal and told her, I haven't heard from you. I talked to this gal in July, and they had the record of that conversation. And she said, yeah, well, we've been sending you bills. And I said, I have received none. And they gave me an address, which is the address of my rental where my daughter lives. And she said she's received nothing from them. She would have brought that stuff to me. And I told them, well, I don't know. And I didn't tell them anything about that rental being a rental because it didn't matter. All the other bills that hospital sent me, and I paid to the hospital about $3,500 out of pocket over the bills at the hospital and myself. And that didn't include doctors. That was just the hospital. And that's what I told her. And I said, all the other bills that you sent me were sent to this address, were sent to my address, the house where I live. And she's like, well, I don't know. You can apply for these not discounts. What's the word I'm thinking of? For low income people. But I got to reading it, and you had to qualify for these discounts. For this relief through the hospital, you had to be 500% below the poverty level to qualify for this. It just astounds me that, what about people? I mean, if I ended up having to pay this, I could work something out where I would pay them monthly plans. I don't plan on paying them anything. I don't need credit. My house, I don't need credit. I don't need good credit, and screw them. They earned enough. But I could afford a monthly payment. What about the people who can't? This is ridiculous. It's just, this is what's wrong with our healthcare system. This is what Barack Obama said he was going to fix with the Affordable Care Act, and that is not what happened. All he did was make things great for insurance companies. But anyway, at that time, I was just kind of bummed out, and I told my wife, this money, blah, 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 blah. Well, she dug into it right then. She started digging into it, and she is the one who found all this stuff about the CARES Act and started reading it and found all this information about the CARES Act. So to make sure that I was on the right track, I called my state senator, Shannon Grove, who I'm a big fan of and vote for, and her office, rather than doing what I asked them to do, which was to look into the CARES Act for me and see if I was on the right track, they got in touch with United Healthcare, and when they called me back, they said, yeah, it doesn't look like we can do anything, United Healthcare. And I said, this isn't about my insurance. And they had contacted United Healthcare and asked them why they didn't pay all of my bill. And I got a letter from United Healthcare that said pretty much, hey, dude, give us a break. We did more than we had to do. And I wrote United Healthcare a letter back saying, this is not what I asked these people to do. So then I called Kevin McCarthy's office. Worthless, absolute waste of time. You know what they told me? Well, you'd probably be better off if, just call the hospital and talk to them about that. And it's like, I've already talked to them about plenty. If I get hold of them, they're just going to try to step out of this somehow. And my thing to them, I said, I want to know if I have the law behind me. I want to know if I have the CARES Act behind me. I want to know if I'm going down the right path on this. Nothing, no help at all. So this morning, I wrote letters to Dianne Feinstein, Alex Padilla, my United States senators. They're Democrats, but you know what? The last time I wrote letters to elected representatives about an issue I had, Dianne Feinstein's office was the only one who had anything to say about it. McCarthy, nobody else. I also wrote a letter to Vince Fong, and I'm going to see what happens. And I this time I worded the letter precisely about what it was I want to know. And one of the offices I wrote to was the Treasury OIG, and the CARES Act falls under the purview of the Treasury Department. And I get a letter back from them this evening that said, you'd be better off talking to the Health and Human Services because they're the ones, blah, blah, blah. And I looked into the Health and Human Services, and all it does is give you a bunch of information about COVID-19. It gives you a bunch of information about a bunch of stuff. But where my thing was concerned, just COVID-19 and masks and 6 feet. Oh my God, all the crap that we've been listening to for 3 years. And all I could do is I copied a copy of the letter to Health and Human Services. It's probably going to do no good because it doesn't sound like that's the end of this that they're involved with. I'm always telling people you need to write your elected representatives. And I do. I don't write them all the time, but I write them and I voice my opinions. And this is the first time that I've ever asked for help. When the last things that Feinstein, that was about there only being one federal judge in the Eastern District of California when there are supposed to be 6 and 10 are recommended. And I got form letters back from everyone but Dianne Feinstein. All the rest of them said, we assure you we're looking into this. It was like the same person wrote all of them, whether they were Democrats or Republicans, except for Feinstein. That one was worded like someone actually wrote it and was had some ideas and some opinions about what they might be able to do about that. I don't know if that's changed or not. I don't know if they ever appointed any more federal judges. And this was during the Trump administration. I also wrote the White House about it. I doubt if anything ever got done. But it is so disheartening to see these politicians kick the can down the road. You people, the politicians, wrote this act. You voted on this act. This is the epitome. We made fun of Nancy Pelosi from the Affordable Care Act when she said, well, we need to read it to find out. When she said we need to pass it to find out what's in it. But you know what? It sounds like the Republicans are doing the same thing with the CARES Act, so they'll probably all do the same thing with everything. None of them ever read it. They read the headline and they listen to the news bits and the blurbs and the sound bites and say, well, let's say this about it. Let's vote or not vote on it based on this rather than what's in it. So no one ends up knowing what's in these things, what they say. I'm hoping that, as I said, I just wrote these letters this morning. I'm hoping to hear back from some of these senators, and especially the Democrats, because they're the ones that really push this. But it's unlikely that they're going to know anything. I wouldn't be surprised if they all just said, hey, just call the hospital. They've got unicorns and fairies there that'll fix all this for you when they won't. This is a hospital. Hospitals are gigantic, huge corporations and businesses, and they're not there to break even. They're not there to help you out. They're not there to give you relief. They're there to collect their money. And they're going to have a hell of a time collecting it from me. I will, if this CARES Act thing doesn't end up, if I can't get any relief or if I can't get any satisfaction or whatever, I will compel the hospital to take me to court. I will take the CARES Act information before a judge and see what he has to say. And so I'll work it that way. But I don't understand how these people don't know this. As big a deal as the CARES Act was, as big a deal as the government made of COVID-19, all this, and no one seems to know anything about it. It just goes to show you that the Republicans, I made a video about this a while back, the Republicans and the Democrats, there's really not much difference between them anymore. And they both have their heads in their asses. That's I guess a corporate thing. But it's disheartening. People need help. And fortunately, I wouldn't even have known to look for this. My wife's the one, she's like, oh, I don't think so. And I wonder how many people were hospitalized with COVID and are getting hosed with these bills and these huge expenses beyond what their insurance paid, who don't even know that the CARES Act exists. People like me who don't even know that that was part of the CARES Act. I wonder how many hospitals are not putting in their notes that this person was hospitalized for COVID, because this was Mercy Southwest Hospital. They did not have that in their notes when I spoke with that lady in July of 2021. She had no idea. And when I spoke with them last, which was, I don't know, I called them around the end of January. And I'm in no hurry about this. I was so stressed about it for a couple of weeks. I thought I was going to have a heart attack. But you know what? I'm not stressed about it anymore. I don't care. But I wonder how many people are getting hosed this way. So if you know anyone who was hospitalized for COVID and they've got these bills from hospitals, tell them about the CARES Act. Tell them to write and call or whatever their elected representatives, and let's make a big deal about this, because if they're doing it to me, they're doing it to everybody. And anyone who doesn't have that knowledge they're not going to know to do this. So make sure that if it's happening to you, someone you love, someone you know, someone you hate, let's get this fixed. Let's make some noise where this is concerned. My next stop is the local news. And I don't know if that'll help things, but it'll sure make Mercy Southwest look bad. It'll make Dignity Health look bad. It'll make Common Spirit look bad. And we'll see where that goes. I'm tired of the healthcare system in America taking advantage of everybody. 500% below the poverty level. So someone who's living at 100% below the poverty level can't seek relief from Dignity Health over this? That is ridiculous. That is just absolutely insane. 500% below the poverty level. Give me a break. I would never qualify for that. I'm certainly not wealthy, but hey, I'm retired. I live on a fixed income. And that's it, that puts me way up there. My pension pays me well above the poverty level. Certainly not 500% below it. But 25 grand is a lot of money, and I don't just have it laying around to give these people, and I'm not going to make it easy on them. Neither should you, neither should the people you love, neither should the people you hate. Anyone who's dealing with this should take this to the hospitals, take it to the courts, shout it from the mountaintops, take it to the news, take it to their elected representatives, and let's make people pay attention to this, because people are getting screwed. Like I said, if they're doing it to me, this isn't a mistake. If they're doing it to me, they're doing it to everyone, and they're doing it intentionally, and they should be calling the carpet for it. What do you think about that? Let me know in the comments below. Shoot me an email at motorpoet59@gmail.com. Like, share, subscribe, click on the bell if you want to be notified of future content, and write, talk, shout. Let's get something done about this. Thanks.